this is Lodrik again, and this is the game War in the Pacific Admirals Edition in our match against Dojo. And today we will have the special episode because it's the middle of the month for March. We will enter the 15th March of 1942. So I will check the tracker software a little, and we can maybe discuss a little more in depth situations about supply and handicaps, and maybe all the stuff can normally gets better. But let's dive in and see what we can find here today. Yeah, one more base take over in the Philippines. I hope I can get all the Philippines done by end of March. That there's simply nothing left behind that the Dojo maybe can use to operate air forces or submarines out of it. Yeah, I think the submarine I saw many times already, and I don't think it was really successful so far, but it was also not really possible for me to get rid of it. So it's bother me, but I simply have no way to kick it out. I need better equipment. Maybe in April, if I get the most of my destroyers have then better sub-hunter equipment. In April I can try to hunt them, even in deep water. So the night was quiet. Nothing really happened. Okay, now our carrier fleet is in next to Suva, and our scouts running out and try to find targets. Worth to attack. And of course, Dojo's scouts also detect our carrier fleet now. So this is simply a risky operation. Go all in, go all. But you saw our carriers enter the hex. Our scouts finding something. Then our carrier bomber fleet more or less cancel the flight operations because of bad weather. Yeah, this can happen. Of course, it's a little unlucky because moment of surprise will be now completely lost. Maybe it already was lost before, but we will see. Maybe we can still take off in the afternoon, or at least at the second day of the turn. Yeah. This is a bombardment formation because our Japanese forces are not strong enough to really battle the Chinese. The Chinese are not strong enough to battle us, so there's no way no one can win this battle but I also have no forces really to spare, so I try to use my air force to suppress the Chinese movement. But it's also not easy because there's mountain terrain, or at least very rough. Not easy to get good hits on it. Sweeping, I keep it sweeping simply, yeah. I don't really expect that Dojo still have your fighters, but first you never know, and second your pilots will still get training. And in the so long I keep my fighters running, there's no way that Dojo normally can make a surprise and intercept our bombers. I mean, I don't run a big force of fighters here, but at least some. And I focus my bomber activity normally on my own control area. So you can see I bomb here the stacks behind the line. I really don't attack the front line. I think also it makes not much sense for me, and it's much more dangerous if I attack anything at the front line. I normally must always have escort fighters, because it's more likely that the Dojo can intercept them. But so far I think it's happened only twice or 3 times in the game that Dojo was able to intercept the bombers, and there was not really a big issue, not in China I would say. In Rangoon he was maybe more successful, and in the Philippines at the beginning of the war. Okay, these are the B-25 Mitchells. Dojo try again, but this looks like that. Yeah, I mean, we cannot hit him and he cannot hit us. And he coming from 6000, so this is normally a standard attack value, because it's normally avoid all light flak power. And the Japanese, they have only light flak and heavy flak. So if you come in 6000, it's very unlikely that any airplane gets hit. So this is really a disadvantage of the Japanese, but this is their doctrine thinking. They only have anti-aircraft stuff against torpedo bombers and dive bombers in the last moment. They can shoot up to 4,000 feet, but not 6,000 feet. And then they have heavy flak. It's going up to 18,000, I think, or 25,000 even. So the long range flak is nearly impossible to avoid, but the short range flak. Okay, now we have this air battle of Mulmain. Sorry, the first town of the border side of Burma. And Dojo try to bomb our forces. I'm not sure if this is the best idea, but at least he tried it, and why not? Because we don't have here air base, so I must use my fighter forces here now in a long, how do they call this? Long range cap. Means more or less my fighters take off, fly to the location you can choose, and then they stay there, and if their fuel is near empty, they try to fly back. But I think the game calculates this like you can only have a third of your maximum. If your squadron is like 100 planes, I mean you don't have this, but 100% of your planes you send on a long range cap mission, then only you have, I think, the maximum you can engage a battle is a third. So only a third of your long range cap will be here active at any time. I think this is the maximum. And so this lower already the active numbers you have to operate. And the second issue is that this really keeps your pilots tired, because it is like the pilot has the maximum flight time. And of course, if the pilot has the maximum flight time, at the end of his mission, doesn't matter if he have a battle or not a battle, he's simply very tired. So, and this is now a 2-day turn game, so you have you must be careful. I did it now. I say more or less, I pick the squadron and I say 100% long range cap. And then later we can check, but I think after 2 days of 100% long range cap, the pilots are at the really maximum of fatigue. I think they are over 30 already. And this is a point where you get really higher operational losses, because the pilot is tired at the end of his mission. And he simply, 5 minutes before he reached the airport, or even in the moment he won't land, he black out, and then he make a crash landing. And I think the best option maybe to avoid this is, say, long range cap never go over 50%. I don't use so much long range cap that I think I forgot this, and or I don't remember how much this will lower or increase the fatigue of this pilot. So I would normally say maybe in the future don't use long range cap over 50% if you have this 2-day battles. If you have a 1-day battle, maybe it's okay, because then you can say 1 day 100%, then 1 day rest, and then 1 day again. Because I still think it's better to have one squadron with maximum power and not 2 squadrons each with 50%. But maybe it's at the end, doesn't matter. Who knows? Yeah, now we can see that we battle Dojo's fighter escorts, and it's okay, I would say. I think the best benefit is now that we can see that our fighters just get rid of the enemy escort, and then the bombers arrive the destination. But we have still some flak, so we can at least hurt these bombers. And on the way back, maybe we can also kill one. But what I want to say is, this is now more or less the Japanese ground. And so far I would understand now, if our Japanese fighters gets killed here now, and then the game will make a check, and if it's successful, then there's a next check. I don't know how this really works, but then there's a check, the pilot jump out of the airplane successful, okay, then there's a check if the pilot is hurt or not. And if the pilot is not hurt, then he normally can return to base. If he's hurt, he also returns to base but is wounded, and then he needs some time to recover. And all Dojo's pilots have now maybe the issue that they find on Japanese ground. But Dojo controls the hex next to this battle, so maybe the possibility is still that they can escape to their own line. But I would still say this is now, of course, in favor of the Japanese, at least if you talk about what happened with the pilots if they gets defeated, must jump out of the airplane. But we also can see that these Hudsons are not so bad. I mean, I think they have only light machine guns, and we have no armor. So even these shitty light machine guns can simply damage our airplane, and that is why we struggle a little with this to get rid of them. At least we damaged some, and maybe Dojo have more operational losses now. Overall, it was okay. At least it was no success for Dojo. I think this is a tactical victory for Japan now. But nothing crazy. Okay, afternoon. Maybe the carrier can take off now. So our jacks can operate. But again, cancelled by bad weather. Mission cancelled. Naja. So the carriers was simply unlucky. They run in bad weather and then and there is no option in this game to avoid this. I would normally expect that if the admiral can normally I mean, maybe it's far because this is an area where the Japanese control no bases, so they don't know how the weather will maybe change. Okay. And yeah. At least it maybe also means that Dojo cannot make an attack on our carrier, so we don't strike him, he don't strike us, and we'll both miss the opportunity to have a big battle here now near Suva. Let's see what happens next time. Okay, my Betties, they still try to get rid of this straggling Australian forces. And slowly, I think we kill them. I don't want to really send any forces in the jungle. I think it makes no sense. I let my air force get rid of them. It is only important that I control all the bases, and I have a unit in every base so we can sneak back. And I also don't think that the Australian forces can get any supplies there. Maybe Dojo can use transport airplanes to fly in supplies. Ah, the Mitchells are back. But again, they fail. Luckily, because these Mitchells, they transport 6 bombs, 500 pounds each. So this is like a 250 kilogram bomb, and 6 of them. So this is a really, I think, a really good naval attack plane, and the Japanese have nothing compared to this. The Japanese simply focus heavily on torpedo bombers, and yeah, a torpedo strike is mostly deadly, or at least cripple a ship immediately. But the logistics behind torpedo attacks are simply so much higher, because you always must have an air HQ. And if you don't have this, the Bettys and the Nels, they only transport 2 250 kilogram bombs, so only a third of this attack value. So okay, this is air war of 13th March. When we make here some small invasion. I simply try to take this base that Dojo cannot escape here, and maybe I will also bring some forces around here to take this mountain hex. I don't want simply that if I really have the Battle of Batavia, that they running away and then I must catch up again. I normally, before I go to Batavia, I normally want to take these two mountain hexes because they are also easy to defend even without a fort. So maybe Dojo built up a fort in Batavia, and this will be maybe already a bloody battle, and so I want to make sure that if I take Batavia, then Java is already ours, or that I control it. I don't want to have again battle in the mountains later on. But we will see. Okay, this is our main central army around the Korean army. We're taking now this smaller city, and this normally cuts now, latest in this situation. I think there's no way more that any supplies running between central China and North China. I mean, here was only a base force, and surprisingly we still lost a bunch of units. I mean, most are disabled, but yeah, still 1 to 8 or 1 to 9 kill ratio. And yeah, the Chinese forces are destroyed. This is important. But no airplanes here, oh? No. Only the base force. Yeah, this is very equally. I don't have a HQ to support this, and Dojo have a HQ here, so you can see I have 321, you have 394, so no way that I can really get rid of them. Or if I try this, it will maybe end very bloody. I maybe must bring some units here. Maybe I will bring some Japanese army to support here shortly, and then I take them away. I must see how. It's not really so important. Okay, this is now the Battle of Surabaya. And it's all around the 14th Army. This is mostly of the 14th Army I sent here with all the additional equipment. And we can see that so we had to double the attack value in row, and so means that Surabaya had a fort of 4, but our engineers already blew up the first fort level from 4 to 3. Then we have, I think this is very equally dropping, each one lost 100 points simply. And then we have a 2 to 1 kill ratio, and I don't know if this is a bug, because normally Dojo start with a fort level 4, engineers blow up the first fort, then it's a fort of 3, then the attack happened. If your attack is, I think, 2 to 1 or at least 1 to 1, you can see here is a fort level of 3, then normally here must be the fort is reduced to the 2, not a 3. So I don't know if this is a bug and there is normally a 2, or because it's always like this, so I never really know. I must maybe check next time if there's a fort of 3 or fort of 2. Anyway, the development had the forts but no experience. And surprisingly, very light losses. We lost nearly nothing, only 3 vehicles, the rest is only disabled. And the Dutch forces lost already is a part of. I mean, 1 unit completely gets destroyed. I don't know, maybe a base force. So attack was successful. I also use only the delivery attack. I'm really not a big fan from shock attack. It's simply far too risky in my eyes. And this was okay. We don't take the base immediately, but we lost nearly nothing, and yeah, why not? And this is this Chinese 17th Army Group. I think we have 4 or 5 battles already. There's not much left. They try to escape, and we try to get rid of them. We take the next base, and yeah, they try to escape to Harmi. And this is okay. Better they escape this way or not this way, because if they would take this small road, then I would have the trouble to maybe catch them, because my main goal is normally Harmi in Urumqi, because this is the capital of the Inner Mongolai, or the Chinese Mongolai province, and here is the industry. This is the end goal of this operation. And Harmi is only the way there to also get the highway linked, because if I can show this later. Harmi is simply important to get a much better or faster and more supplies in the Mongolian area. Here we take I think the last base, more or less. Okay, one base is here still left. But it's make sure that these forces can normally not escape, because in every base I have a unit, and I don't think that they really can pass the mountains more. The Australian forces can only walk here at the coast. And now I can simply use my long-range naval bombers to bomb this unit day by day. I get experience, they cannot shoot back, so everyone is happy. Well, only the Australians are dying. But why they come here? Yeah. Here we pick up some not really defended Dutch forces, but there's also nothing there. We only take the base, there's no minerals, no strategic important. Makassar is maybe okay that you can have your air base, that you can use some scout planes to check the seas around, but that is all what I would do here. Okay, now this is the final, or hopefully the final attempt to take Medan. I bring my second forces here source, because the first unit was not successful. We failed before, and now we are successful, luckily. Oh, good. I mean, the Dutch forces was at a low level of morale. Many of these Dutch forces simply, I think they don't have morale. They maybe have the manpower, they maybe have also the equipment, but if you don't have morale, they don't maybe have a purpose more to fight, because these are only local forces, and they don't really, I mean, in reality these are not really Dutch forces, they are only colony Dutch forces, I would say. So support units, local units, and they don't want really fight in this world war. They only want to make sure that their families are safe, something like this. You can see we have a lot of disabled, so it's not that we completely get this for free, but the Dutch forces, I think they are broken now. But also at least one of my Navy Guard unit is broken, and I think I must return this unit back to Singapore to fix it and repair it, and maybe give it 1 week rest or even more. That is okay. Okay. So it was overall a normally a successful day. Only that the first carrier fleet just entered the bad weather zone was unlucky. Yeah. So we take this Dutch base, but there's also nothing. You only take the bases, rise the flag, and okay. You get 1 or 2 victory points. This is, I mean, the most what you can get out of this. Okay. Additional landings. night activity. Not really many Navy engagements. I don't know where's Dojo's forces. He really hold most of this stuff back. He used, I think, really mainly only submarines to counter me so far. And here this is now near to Melbourne, between... This is, I think, I don't know really if there's so much shipping, but I simply think that here there must be shipping coming from the west coast of America, try to enter Melbourne or Sydney, and I keep here some submarines, but they are not really so successful. And here we can see that our submarine also try to avoid this mine layer. One hit. There was something, but our submarine failed to get in position, and the anti-submarine stuff was simply better. And now in the second attempt we fail again. At least we get some torpedoes out, or I don't know, maybe it's waste, but this is a 2-point ships, maybe maximum 3-point ships, not more value. But so long you keep your submarines normally in deep water, also this kind of anti-submarine equipment guys are, if you are lucky, they make one hit. You can take maybe 10 of these hits before you must return. So long it's not a critical hit. This always can happen. Okay, our scouts going out again and try to find something. And looks like there was a fleet nearby. So we can still see that there are Dutch forces, I think, operating out of Palembang. And I normally have cap, but somehow the cap is not really possible to get rid of these airplanes. Not in the numbers I hoped for. So we just saw that we cannot find the target. And our... normally this is I normally gave the order, move here, try to sweep Suva, and try to find enemy fleets. And if you don't find enemy fleets, then attack the airport of Suva. This is now our sweeps. So our Zero fighters try to get rid of this P-39 air Cobras. And I think, I don't know if we really ever fight the P-39 so far. I don't know, I am really not so good with the D edition. If the D edition is already the machine with the 40mm gun, I think there's an edition, they have a 40mm gun in the center line. And of course this is one hit, one kill. It doesn't matter if you have armor or not. But I think the possibility to hit something with this kind of gun is very low. And I also, so far, I have too less experience if really to see the difference between this P-39 and P-40. Compare this to the Hurricane to be maybe they are all on the same level. They have all different strengths and weaknesses. At the end, for me, it's a fighter. An enemy fighter, I must get rid of it. But we can see that this is now a distance of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, okay. But my pilot's using drop tanks. So I give the pilots more or less the order to use drop tanks, but only fly normal range sweep missions. This will, of course, this airplane will use the double, the, how do you call this? Mission, the supplies on the carrier. I don't know how they call this, but every carrier have a maximum of sorties higher. So I think it was 18 at the beginning. I think 18 zeros took off, but at the end the game say okay, because you use drop tanks, you don't use 18 sorties points. You use now 36 sortie points gets deducted from the carrier. So if you do this, you use drop tanks, then your carriers can simply not run so many missions. You must return to base more early. But the sorties are often not the limitation. Mostly the carriers running out of fuel or running out of torpedoes. And the Japanese Navy Force or Air Force is very based on, I would say, on torpedo bombers, on torpedo strikes. The dive bombers of the Japanese Navy with the 250 kilo bomb, I would say it's okay, but nothing really crazy. Compared to the 1,000 pound bomb of the American dive bomber, they're lacking punching power. You can hurt something, but like I said before, I think it's okay, but nothing crazy. So this means mostly that if I run out of torpedoes, I normally always call my carriers back. And often if I run out of torpedoes, I'm also low on fuel. Because I don't want my carrier fleets with oiler support. You can normally also run here with oilers or something like this, and or fast battleships. They have also maybe all more fuel, but I don't like this kind of style. That is the reason why I have normally not a problem with sorties with my carrier so far. The other reason is also that these carriers, the main carriers, they don't operate with maximum flight numbers. I don't really fully understand why, but I think this is some game balance stuff. I think the 4 or 6 main carriers of the Japanese, they have each a fighter, dive bomber and a torpedo bomber squadron. But these numbers are not enough to fill the carrier. Like if the carrier can normally take 70 planes, you start with the game only with 50. And there's a hard lock. You cannot change this number. First, I think in July of 42, the lock will change, and then your carrier has the maximum capacity you can bring on. So with the original setup, you always run your carriers only with 2/3 strike power. Of course, there's a possibility to load additional squadrons on the carrier, but you must find them first. And normally you don't have so many carrier trained squadrons. And it's also sometimes a little complicated I simply run the carrier with 2/3 attack value now. It is still enough to have something like this. This is normally enough punching power. I don't know if you have now 20 or 30 more airplanes, if it's really changed so much, but this is also a reason why the sorties are normally really not the issue so far for me. So this this P-39s, they still hold their ground. Means more or less that Dojo bring already, I mean last time was I think 1 month ago. I don't know what was the last time I come here. Last time we think this troop transport. I think it was maybe 1 month ago or even more. And of course 1 month later the allies have more equipment, more stuff, and now the situation is already not more so easy to handle. This also makes this kind of carrier operation risky. This also I cannot normally afford to stay somewhere for a long time. I really must go fast in, try to strike, and then try to escape again. It's really only a surprise sneak, or a surprise attack in this case, maybe more, and not a really clear attack run with a purpose to take something. I only want sink something, damage something, and maybe try not to lose so much of my own air force. But also normally let Dojo know every operation he runs here, he is in danger that I can come around anytime I want and attack him. So he must always have more protection for his task forces, run his air force here more tight and maybe more in a high alert level, and this maybe will burn more of his supplies and limit his training efforts or something like this. So we kill maybe more, but keep in mind that these are first class fighters. Most of these pilots have all experience of over 70 and skill level over 70. So this is the best you can get. And I don't know what kind of level this P-39, maybe they're only standard pilots. So the value of this are maybe only half of this of the 0. So maybe the kill ratio is just acceptable, maybe not really great. Last time I think we killed pilots more easy, but we'll see. Maybe the second squadron is more successful. And at the end of the day we really see the more or less true numbers of the day. Okay, this is a good start normally always. Blow up the first fighters in the air, have the fireball. Even now the 20mm guns of the Zeros are maybe not enough to easily kill these fighters. The only flaw of the Zero, and this is I don't know, I mean there must be reasons for this, but the Zero have the 20mm guns, they're wing mounted, and not center mounted. And wing mounted guns simply shake much more. They have an unstable platform. So the 20mm guns of the Zeros is not so easy to really hit something. And the light machine guns are center mounted. So the Zero can often hit something with the light machine guns, but not so often with the heavy machine cannons. Anyway, we get at least one kill. The only problem is now we get rid of the enemy cap, but I think we are out of range for our bombers to make the airfield attack. So this kind of attacks are maybe a little useless. But it's happened. Okay. I don't know if we really can catch this unit more, because Dojo is here now on the highway, and for him it's very easy to come back, and I must go here around. I don't think. Maybe we can slow him down with our bombardment, but maybe they escape. Yeah. I hope that these forces are simply in so bad shape that even if they escape, that they are not really much more have value. Okay, this is now our carrier before we sweep Suva airbase or port. And now the other direction, our torpedo bombers find something. And looks like that our torpedo bombers get a torpedo immediately in the destroyer. And a bomb hit on the destroyer. So at least we found something here. A tanker. Okay. Tankers are always good. And a torpedo in a tanker is also not bad. But it looks like... no hit. And one more tanker, okay. And the torpedo hit again. Double. 2 torpedo hits in open sea, and I don't know if we... I think this is already a good start. One dive bomber make 1 hit, 100% hit. Not bad. For this kind of ships, of course, the 250 kilobomb bomb is normally enough. Hit destroyers, hit cargo ships, tankers. That is always nice. Well, we can see, I think these ships are maybe empty, because if a tanker have normally oil or fuel loaded and you hit it with a torpedo or with a bomb, then often you get this cargo is burning. And I think here is now only the ship is burning, or critical damage. Yeah, but no... So, means this is maybe a tanker fleet is coming back from Australia back to maybe west coast of America, and we just intercept them. Yeah, must be like this. And because the tankers are now empty, even one more tanker, okay. So 3 tankers already. And 3 tankers with a torpedo hit. Damage to engines, I think, is also always good, because it simply this makes them slow, and if a ship is slow, it's more easy to hit for the next coming airplanes. A slow ship is simply always cannot avoid an attack so easy. Okay. I think it's similar to last time. Last time we think troop transports. This time we think maybe some tankers. Even maybe they didn't have a load. It will not really. It's not a military strike against Dojo's navy forces. I mean, one of these destroyers normally matters not so much, but Dojo lose some tanker, and this simply maybe will slow down his effort to strike back in the long run. There are 2 destroyers, okay. Okay. So 2 tankers go down. Oh, okay. I mean, you keep in mind, there are only 31 torpedo bombers and 22 dive bombers. And we now have 2 destroyers, heavily damaged and on fire. And 4 tankers. Okay, 4 tankers. 1 tanker go down and 1 other tanker go. So 2 tankers are for sure dead. Heavily fire, heavily damaged is normally also dead. And this tanker is on fire but also heavily damaged. 2 torpedoes. I would say maybe the whole task force is dead or will die soon. Because I don't know if there's any base nearby they can reach to get rid of the fire. I think normally if you're near to Suva then maybe you can survive. Or Savi is maybe a port is big enough. I don't know if there's anything. Yeah. It is a... Oh. It is a... This is a good strike, I would still say. Even... I hope for something else, but okay, tankers are also not bad. They all... No, tankers have normally high point values. But the Allies, they have so many tankers and they have so many cargo ships. The Allies can also use... They have unlimited fuel, so they also can use cargo ships to transport this stuff. Okay, 1 ship just go down. We have also afternoon strike. So maybe we get a second strike on the target. Oh, look, the Dutch try to bomb us, but they fail. Yeah, so our bombers out of Singapore, they're attacking now the Dutch forces, they get kicked out of Medan. But I think this is now mountain hack, so I don't know if we really can hit them so good. Naja, a little. A little, yeah, only a little. Okay, here are the Swedish forces. I think originally coming from Rabul and then they walking here over this jungle and then they take this base after I left already. Yeah, it's okay. Maybe I must make here invasion again or we bomb them first. Nothing really important. Here we can see again, we simply don't get a hit on this. Oh, Dojo attack Singapore port. Okay. So we have here very great numbers of airplanes, but most I think of these airplanes are in training because I would always give a pilot the order to train if he has nothing else to do. So maybe most of our fighters are really not in the best position to intercept now. And you can also see, compared to the Japanese bombers, the Mitchell, they have high hit points and also armor. And if we don't get the hit with the 20mm gun, I think we hit again many times and nothing will ever happen. This is also why the Cloud Fighter, the A5M4, is normally really similar to the Key 27, only a training airplane. You can train pilots, yeah, this you can do, but anything else will not work. Simply they cannot really get rid of these American fighters. In best case, you intercept some buffaloes, so in the first 1 month of the war you can use these fighters maybe in Malaya, because there are a lot of British, Dutch buffaloes. This is maybe okay, but latest in end of January, all Key 27, all Cloud fighters, bring them back to Manchukuo, mainland or Japan Islands, and only let them train pilots. And if the pilots are okay and ready for duty, you can send them to the pilot pool, or you change the squadron to active duty and give them something like a 0 or Oscar 1C. So you can see that we really have a little trouble with this bomber stuff. Ah, yeah. At least 2, I think, gets killed. And the track is broken. Nah. Okay. Here we have 1 kill, but I think there was 2, but well, we'll see. Okay, second day. Dojo is coming again. But now the numbers looks even more in favor of the Japanese. And we get immediately killed. That is the perfect start for every Japanese fighter pilot. So the flying tigers are already destroyed or forced to return to base. Now we have the much more even battle, the Oscar and the Hurricane, and like so many times, the Oscar always is a little in the handicap now. But okay, now we are even. But maybe in 2 months, I think in May, I maybe can start to produce some of the Dojos already. And for all short time operations, I can maybe better use than the Dojos. And maybe this will be a better airplane to fight these hurricanes. But the Dojos, they don't have the range, so if it's long range stuff to escort or sweep, you still need the Oscars normally. Or I maybe keep the zeros here. It's all dependent a little how is the other, how Dojo normally will start to maybe pressure me. Okay, the escorts, we get rid of them and now we can attack the Hudsons. Last time the Hudsons, they escaped more or less. Now at least we can damage them. Or get even destroy them. Okay, I think this is an really I mean, at least we get rid of the bombers. Means our army can maybe take the road without the fear of any airstrikes. At least no meaningful airstrikes. Yeah. So this time Dojo's bombers cannot penetrate the cap, and the kill ratio looks even better than last time. So this was the afternoon. I would simply bombard these Chinese forces to slow them down and force them to stay in combat mode, to have more time to arrange some reinforcements out of Japan. I must really maybe do this as soon as possible. And this is now the second battle of Surabaya. So in the first battle we already lower the defense values of the Dutch forces, and there is also some, I think this is a British, I think this is the color code for British units, but mostly they are Dutch forces. And let's see.
imperial government announced that the ever-victorious forces of the Japanese Empire have captured Surabaya.
So Tokyo Rose tells always the truth. Don't forget this. If Tokyo Rose say the Americans they lost many carriers and battleships, then they are for sure lost. And in this case, the Japanese army takes Surabaya in the second day already. This is surprisingly successful. I don't really expect this because you can see that this time our engineers don't blow up any fort, and we make a last time normally we so looks like really you can maybe really only lower the fort level at one level per turn or per battle. So Dojo still had the fort level of 3, but for some reasons our attack value already increased, so it means the HQ give a good bonus to our units, and Dojo's forces I think they fail the morale check, and this is why so many units drop out. And now we take the base and we also destroyed some airplanes on the ground. Okay. These are the long range Navy Scout Patrol. They're always making this noise. And also Catalinas are here. I don't know why still Catalinas are here. I think they are really good and one of the best airplane for the Americans because they have long range and they have torpedoes normally. So I don't know why Dojo keeps them here, but and the losses are light. So only our engineers, because they're normally the pioneers. I think they try to blow up something, but maybe they fail to blow up. But 300 to nearly 10,000 is of course a good ratio. And most are destroyed. Not more much is left. So this is at the end a very successful day, I would say. It's a continuously victory. I mean, the Japanese empire has walked down this road of victories, maybe not in the most highest possible speed, but maybe without really much resistance, and also without a big failure and losses. So there are no additional burden on the Japanese industry, because if you lose a lot you also burn additional supplies and heavy industry points, and I try to avoid this because the Japanese industry is already at the limit what supplies can provide. There's a little issue with Singapore not getting fast enough supplies there and reinforcements. Cost me some days, but nothing is really perfectly. Okay. So we arrived the 15th March of 1942, so it's mid of March, so and we can check the intelligence report, and we have now official 23 to 10 air losses, and also the operational losses are 19 to 12, so both in favor of the Japanese. And so out of this we have a 42 to 22. This is I would say, if you see the total number of the campaign, 1127 against 691, this is I think now the standard, I would say, nearly 2 to 1 kill ratio, and not bad. Because long time we had, I think, not more so high kill ratio. At the beginning you kill a lot of this Dutch and Malayan Air Force, but they don't really are a threat. But the total numbers are looking good. So we kill 11 P-39 in Surabaya. No, not Surabaya, Suva. So 9 are really killed and 2 are written off. But we also lost 10 Zeros, 6 killed and 4 operationals. I mean, I don't know if these zeros are now all lost over Suva, but maybe also in Rangoon is one lost. Nah, not crazy successful, but okay. We also killed 7 Hurricanes, and this is, I think, good. 7 bombers. I think I really don't care so much the bombers, but they can slow down the land units, so better get rid of them if possible. The Oscars are also 6 and 4. These are the Flying Tigers, 4 again killed. Not bad, not bad. And surprisingly, Dojo lost 3 Catalinas now on the ground. That is always. I mean, the main purpose is normally to scout the sea and give early warnings. But they also can normally strike heavily with the torpedoes if they have the right. If they have provided torpedoes in the against civilian cargo ships, they can really bring havoc. Against military ships are maybe not so good, but so at the end we can see it was a successful day, and the total numbers are now still the Buffalo still the number 1 for kill ratio, but you can see the Flying Tigers coming close, 120 to 119. Then still this I think this has a Dutch buffaloes, so if you normally must add them up, so there's still much more buffaloes still killed. And in position number 4 we have the Zeros, and then the P40, and then already the Oscars. So yeah, it's the best days are, I think, over. We will have here similar. The kill ratio will be 1-to-1 maybe. I don't think it's really possible to keep it much better in the long run. And yeah, we can still see that we kill most Hurricanes still by the troop ship we luckily sunk. This was in long run. This was really lucky that we killed so many Hurricanes in the air transport, sea transport. Because you can see that most of the Hurricanes are all normally ops losses. Not so many gets killed in the air. They're still too tough, too much armor, too many hit points. Yeah, and I think the rest not really changed too much. I can check here slowly down. But I think we don't have too much air battles now here. And this never really changed here more. Here's a B-26. So also Dojo losing some of them at least. And where's a B-25? B-20. Here's a B-25. Yeah. 7. Air-to-air battle. Okay. Yeah, but I think the rest is nothing too crazy. And this small numbers. This is all stuff maybe not really running in battle. And maybe not even more in production. Okay. So the list of pilots. We lost today 5 killed, 2 wounded and 2 missing. And I would think that the killed and missing is all more or less Suva maybe, and the wounded is maybe in Rangoon area. So at least we can see all our aces. This I think was missing in action already a long time. But most of our aces are still active. And they are normally mostly all zero fighters. Okay. And what else? We can check simply what is coming now. We first check the ships. I think this is more important. First. So last turn, the Japanese lost nothing. Like always. Not always, but most of the time. And the Allies lost now official 2 tankers. Yeah, we saw this. And at least one of the destroyers sunk already. And the Dutch sub. I don't know. I can. I get so often the submarines sunk, and after 1 or 2 weeks I see them again. So I don't know how the game calculates this, that the submarines always sinking so often and then always return. But looks like these are big tankers. They don't look so big first, but they are really first class tankers. I think this is more or less the biggest you can get. And maybe, but 31 victory points is like a light cruiser, even like a. You can see the tonnage is 11,000. So these are really big ships. They are fast. They have long range, and they have capacity. So get rid of them will normally slow down the tempo of Dojo to bring fuel or oil to Australia and New Zealand and all this stuff. This is okay. At least we get rid of 2 of them, and maybe I think the rest, if it's burning and heavy damage, if they maybe survive, but they are out of action at least for a half year, maybe 1 year. And one of the shitty destroyers, but I think they're really not powerful. They have already radar, okay. But they have the shitty anti-submarine equipment. But they have radar, looks like. And this Dutch sub, maybe. It's a long range sub. A little slow. Yeah, okay. So this is the losses of ships today. Then we can check what is now reinforcements coming for group reinforcements. Yeah. Oh. So you can see, I mean, not that they're really interesting, not for the Japanese. Mostly they are shells, and you can see these are all scout planes belonging to cruisers or belonging to AV ships, and the best is maybe the pilots you can get with them. Or I use most of this pilot. Normally the squadrons I always change to Jack. All this kind of float planes. I only operate the Jack in real business, in real duty. And all these kinds of airplanes I normally have somewhere here in Japan or maybe in Shanghai, in Port Arthur, something like somewhere where it is safe, and then I use them only for training. Because this is okay, for training you can always use them, why not? And we maybe get here some, so we need, you can also see it needs end of the month I get for some stuff, and maybe this is the only really interesting stuff. So we get a additional Army Air Force squadron with 36, but I mean it's only a shell. Then I can add pilots and train, or I can add Oscars and then use them in battle, but and here is also some zeros, but this looks also only like a shell. There's nothing inside, so I must fill up this stuff. Here we get a Nell squadron, and this is full. Okay. Here you can see this is the 13th Air Flotilla. We get this long range bombers, 45 of them, not bad, not bad, and 15 in the reserve. So we get 60 bombers. So I will normally use this 45 and bring this back to the pool. Okay, this is not bad, but they are still the M2 edition, so not the M3. So I normally don't operate this airplane for a long time. I will try to get the M3 as soon as possible, simply because the range will change from now 15 with the M2, if the M3 can run up to 21. And ranges for this kind of bombers not good. I don't. It's also important, but of course, if you run this kind of bombers in the range of 21, there's no air support more. No escort fighter can run so far. So if you're unlucky, most of your bombers maybe run in enemy fighter escort, and then you have a lot of dead pilots and lost planes. But yeah. The range is an option. You can use them, but you don't must use them for the maximum range. You can also say you only use them so far your 0 escorts can can go with them, and the 0 can go up to 15. So this is the maximum range of the 0. Anyway, so you can see what is else coming. So the next 30 days, we also get some of this float plane fighters, but I think the concept is dead, because even if you put more or less a frame of a 0 and then you make out of this a float plane, yeah, this is maybe the best float plane you can get, but still they are too slow and too handicapped to really operate like a fighter. I don't really be a big fan of this. And this is all what we can see here, and what is coming. So not really anything what is a high-end equipment. Is still the same equipment we can get. In 26 days we get additional long-range scout plane, float plane. This is always good. Simply, you don't have really many of them. And anything what is new, this is still all the old stuff. So we can see first in 77 days, we get first an upgrade. We get this M3 zeros. And I think they're only a little faster. The armament, they still have no armor, and I think the rest is all the same. They're a little faster, but they're only land-based. I don't know if I really will produce them. I think it's too complicated to switch industry from the M2 to the M3 only to get a little faster airplane. I will see. So, but this is first in 77 days. So up to 77 days we still get only the old equipment, and mostly there are only some squadrons you can use for training or whatever you want to do with them. But it's not an improvement, it's only additional numbers. So, and ships are coming now. Ships are coming or not coming. Okay, we have here some, you can see, the next 51 days we only get some cargo, sub-hunter, tanker, cargo, sub-hunter, 1 submarine here, more cargo stuff, more sub-hunters, and 1 second submarine. And here are some troop transport ships. These are okay troop transport ships, but nothing crazy. You can see the value is 10, 22 and 18. So the 22, this is a better troop transport ship, is faster with 17. But this 10 and 18 is even faster, but I think less transport capacity. So, but the military stuff is more or less the sub-hunters, but this has a A edition, so CHA is only shallow water edition. Here, this is a deep water edition, and this is a shallow water edition again. So, more of the shallow water stuff. Best is, I think, the submarines. I think the submarines are first class. They are long range, standard Japanese submarines you can use everywhere. Not everywhere, but everywhere where it is meaningful on the map. And they can also carry scout planes, so not bad. But remember to always normally change the scout planes to jet airplanes. Good. So Navy, this is typical for the Japanese. There's not really much happening. If we check only the Navy stuff, what is coming here? You can see here sub-hunter, submarine, sub-hunter, submarine. local mine layer earns again and again. So the big stuff is coming. Is this hero, the carrier, in 64 days. This is a nice medium-sized carrier. Maybe not. The focus is not speed for sure. So it's not a strike carrier. I would say it's a support carrier, because it's normally a little slow to run away or run fast in, hit and run away. It's something more or less you keep with your battle line. And the size is only medium, you can see. Only 53 airplanes, only 18 torpedoes. So you can maybe make one torpedo strike and then you already have to return to port. And you can also see the equipment with this carrier is standard layout. There's no improvement coming. And this is nearly all, so then we get some destroyers, but this is for the up to mid of June, everything you can see. So normally you can see little submarines, 2 destroyers and 1 carrier is coming up to June. Yeah. So then you can also think about, this is the equipment you maybe can lose in this next 2-3 months without really hurting your abilities. And what the Americans get, I think it's 3 times more, even more. Okay, the only thing maybe I can, the battle, maybe, yeah, now sometimes there's a bug. So the Yamato is still on hold and the Musashi is still under normal construction time, and we closing the gap more and more, but we are still too far away, so I still keep this on hold. Good. And the land units reinforcement. So we can see that normally there are only some support units, base force engineers. So nothing really with value. These are all engineers. You can see this is the wake guns. So if you conquer wake and hold wake up to so 17th in the future, means I think the beginning of April you get this installation. Then it's more easy to hold the wake, or if the allies try to invade or make a assault attack, then they will suffer more coastal defense fire. So, but we can see a lot of engineers, anti-aircraft equipment, and 2 additional air HQs, so you can have more torpedoes everywhere. And this is normally the next month, and then some Navy Guard units with the standard equipment. Nothing really, it's helpful, but will not really change much. And then we can see, so nothing really with a big assault value. If you check assault value, they can see it's all support, but not meaningful stuff. It's a lot of, so the Japanese really not get stronger. They only get a lot of numbers of this small support stuff. And the Allies, I think they get a lot of divisions and regiments coming out. And they really get stronger day by day. So we can see here, this is already in June of 42. There's maybe something coming now slowly. Good. And I think we don't have anything destroyed. Ground units destroyed? No, nothing. And air losses destroyed. Air Force also nothing. So this is so far everything I can show you here. You can also see the base. So the Allies still have more base points, 6,800 to nearly 5,000. Maybe we can change this. And the air losses we saw, 11 to 7 roughly, you can say. The land battles are still in favor for us. Maybe we can still get a little more out of this, but I think then soon it's not more much we can really kill. We will see what happens in China. And the ship ratio is now 353 sunk Allied ships against 20, or 2,900 points to 150 points. Okay, not bad, yeah. Okay, and the overall situation, so this is now the statistics, let's say this. And we are now in mid of March. And I can say so far, Dojo don't try to bring really submarines here nearby. So I also cancel some of my anti-sub patrol stuff because I would still let my patrol ships running around. But most of my sub hunter, my sub chasers, I call back to get an upgrade because you can upgrade them sometimes. Or if they are shallow water sub chasers, then I normally bring them to Singapore, Saigon, maybe also to Manila and here of Borneo, because here is shallow water. Here they can operate normally. All shallow water sub hunters I would simply bring in this area, because here they have use. They have no use normally here in Japan. Maybe it's a coastline, but all deep water will not really have a really meaningful impact for your submarine hunter task forces. And what else I can say to Japan? Like before, I still have here my air bases. You can see, and I have a lot of air force still here training, non-stop training to get them up to 70. And if they are 70, I bring them maybe back to the pool. You can also wait that the experience go up. At least I would have an experience of 50, and then it's, I think, first enough. And also training. This is so long I don't get pressure here, I can use this all for training. I also have here this I still adjust them a little, but I have here simply some 1-point patrol ships, and I think I will make it like this, that I always have like a little distance, and then I keep a line running from here down to Shishijima, or maybe to Saipan later. It's simply like a detection line. It's not one, you cannot block everything, so you don't have so many ships there, and this is a early warning signal for me if something is coming, normally more for surface, not so much for submarines. But if I get a detection, then let's say this, from here to here it's a range of 18. So for my Bettys it's just out of range, but for my, if I later get the M3 Nell bombers, then this is in range for them. So I normally try to keep this line in range of my long range torpedo bombers, so that if I get the feedback that maybe my torpedoes bombers can immediately make a strike on them. We will see how this play out. This is simply, in reality, the Japanese, they had here some patrol ships, simply because there is nothing. How you want to control this sea? So you keep some shifty 1-point ships here and maintenance them, and hope that the enemy will attack them and you will know, aha, they are coming, and then you have time to prepare. I think I also, some turns ago, I still heavily invested again in heavy industry, because I think then it's really soon over. Latest in June of 42, you cannot increase heavy industry more. It's simply then too late, with that you don't get any benefit from this. So I try, even if I'm now a little low on supplies, but I still try to push this a little more, not more too crazy much, but so that maybe March and April I still upgrade, but 1st of May I think I will not upgrade more. So 1st of May I will stop to upgrade. Only what I can conquer, then I will repair it, or what gets damaged I will repair, but I don't will install more additional heavy industry. So this is a little an act of balance. I would maybe say that maybe at the beginning I was a little slow. I already upgraded some heavy industry at the beginning, but you normally must check. You have so many small bases in Japan. Also, they have a heavy industry, but they're starting, I think, only with a. Let me check here. Something like this. You normally try to upgrade them as soon as possible, and because the first 100 days, I think it's the best, because the earlier you start with this stuff, the longer you have later the benefits that this heavy industry can produce more supplies and heavy industry points for you. But I would also maybe say don't try, because I mean I did this now, but because this is not perfect. It's maybe really not perfect to go here immediately with 100 points. Maybe really, but then you have to check this more often. Always say 10 more, 10 more, 10 more, 10 more. I mean, you keep this number around a 10 because you only can repair one industry per day. So it doesn't matter if you have here 100 or a 10. You only get 1 point here out every turn, every day. So you can keep your supplies more cash in your hand. If you just do this with 100 at once, you pay 100 immediately. The supplies are already deducted. You paid them, but you still get. This is only to have a better efficiency, I would say. Don't forget that you also can do this with Manchukuo stuff here in Seoul, Port Arthur, Mukden, in Harbin. I would always try to push these industries. Here I did it. I give 10, then I upgrade, then I give 10 again, 10 again. And if I come around 1st of May, then I will stop with this. And because this is simply also a safe place, it's nearly impossible for the Allies to ever attack this or damage this. And if you produce the supplies here, they simply flow to China, and then you don't must ship them from Japan. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. And also you can do this with Shanghai, Nanking, Hong Kong, Canton, Beijing, I think also Tianjin. Yeah, these are the standard locations. They are safe and they produce normally stuff for you always, because this fight with China normally is not over so soon. Okay, we can also see that we take here the space now, but we are a little low on supplies. Not easy to get here stuff, so we may maybe wait 1 or 2 turns, and then we can go for Lenshao. And after we take Lenshao, I think I must turn maybe the army back to Xi'an to be back in the position that I know what happened with this 200,000 Chinese here. And after I take this city, I think this other army, they are not so strong, but at least they have 300. They can maybe take over. If I break this unit once, I think this is enough for this unit to clean up. And after I take this base, I only must take this Xinning. And I think this is the most important 2 bases here. This is 80% of the industry. The other industry is here far away. But this is our other army can take over. And it's time to get rid of this. Maybe we can get rid of this in end of the month. We will see. I'm still waiting the Dojo come out of the damn mountains, because I see no purpose to hunt them. I let them come to me. And here in this central area, we organize my forces around Kukong. I bring my forces here and refit them, and then I will drive these forces maybe to Wushao and take Wushao first, and then go for maybe Quelling. I'm not so sure. Normally it's better to take this base, because here you have clear hacks. and this is more easy to defend hexes. We will see. I still don't know if I bypass maybe Wu Shao to make something like a surprise, or if I go simply step by step, take first Wu Shao and then go to the next phase. This will give Dojo more reaction time because he know, oh, I'm coming, but maybe he already knows that I'm coming, so then there is no surprise. And here I think we are still in rest mode. Yeah, we are resting, but I think only one more turn. Simply also to call in more supplies. We have. It's really hard to supply this kind of armies with this small road. There's simply the limitation of what can flow here. But I give this unit a little rest, and then we move across the river. And if we cross the river, normally I think there's clear hex. If we take this base, it's already the road to China, the Burma road is then already broken. And then we are also very close to the port and airport of Rangoon. And this is again, you can see the values for the Japanese are 240 only, but the Allies will lose 1,200 points. So this is one of the big, you must have Rangoon. It's no way around, you must have Rangoon. And yeah. Okay. The other situation is that now the supply situation in Singapore looks day by day better. Simply, yeah, a little late, yeah. My second carrier fleet normally could operate much earlier if I have here more supplies, because this lack of supplies hinders the reinforcements for Air Force. But I also saw that I get a new carrier, and the carrier is now here. It's only an escort carrier. But I saw that I have a little supply issue, but then I used the time to say, okay, I can bring this carrier to Singapore, and the other carrier fleet just arrived, I think. Yeah. So we have here still one, the Yunyo is also this kind of support carrier or second line carrier, you can call it. Also just arrived, and I think the other carrier is still in repair. Yeah, the Shuho is still in repair for one day. So I used the time that I was a little slow on supplies and that I bring this carrier all together. I also have here maybe my fighters. These are carrier trained fighters, and also I have some torpedo bombers here. Wait. Here. They are here, and they are also carrier trained. So they can operate from a carrier and be active. Not only for training, they already can make a strike. So I can use this torpedo bombers to transfer them and bring them to Clarkfield. And then often you have this damage stuff. This is a long range stuff, so often they get damaged, but then you can fix them in 1 or 2 days, and then the carrier will also come here around. And maybe in 2-3 turns I have this all in Singapore, and then I will I did this already, I break my carrier fleet, so I have then 3 carrier fleets. Maybe then they have only a strike force of 180 airplanes and not more 250, because 250 is the maximum you can operate, but 180 is still okay. And you have 2 carrier fleets that can support each other. It's simply, if one is maybe in bad weather and cannot operate, then maybe the other one can operate. And if you keep them in a distance of 2 or 3, then they normally can really help each other. We will see how this play out, but normally I call them in, and maybe in 2-3 turns we can come back to the Bay of Bengal and maybe make the next attack on Ceylon. Okay. And at the same time, I driving here my little slow 15th Army's road or up to Palmbang. Simply, I want to avoid the mines are normally here, but even I'm not more sure if they're really mines. This whole operation was a little slow, I would say, but better slow and steady and without much losses. The surprise was that we take this Surabaya without really big a fight. It was even too fast that I did not even have my minesweepers here. The minesweepers are still here. I forgot to send them out last turn. But I also didn't expect to take the base so fast, so maybe I need 1 or 2 turns more to sweep here the mines. You can see they are here. So I cannot use support immediately, but we also can see, because surprisingly it's totally opposite of Singapore. Singapore, everything was broken. And now here is everything perfect. Nothing is damaged. Nothing. So what the British did in Singapore and really has slowed down the whole operation for 1 or maybe even 2 weeks, Surabaya is perfect. So I can immediately create here a new port and base and bring Navy forces and everything here and build out. Normally, I mean, the port is already good, but I still make it maybe to a port 8, the airfield to port 7, and Navy Guard and Navy forces I need here, simply because from this I think it's the best position to operate your submarines and every cruiser formation, battleship formation you want run here at the west coast of Australia. I think this is the best place. All these bases here nearby, they are not really a better position, because you can see it's the north-south distance is maybe greater, but you simply also must turn east, and then the total distance is the same. Then I better use the Surabaya. Okay. So this was really good, and this means more or less that I must still clean up this unit, so I need maybe 1 or 2 days rest, and then I will finish this pocket battle here, and then I can maybe use the train and bring all to Batavia and also get rid of Batavia. I have no knowledge so far of Batavia, but before I take Batavia I want to take this 3 bases around, at least these 2 bases, and here is normally only a base force, so we take normally all the bases here, maybe clean up this, so that Batavia will be the last battle of Java. But this means also that the forces cannot run away. No, they will surrender if they give up. And then I have 2 full armies ready to battle this out. So I'm still in hope that Java, the overall operation of Java can be done at the end of March. And in reality, the Japanese, I think they finished this operation around 15th or 20th of May. So we are then roughly still maybe 1.5 or 2 months in advance to the reality. I think Palmbang, I think we will not catch up earlier than in reality, but for me Java is really more important than Palmbang. Palmbang, the only important stuff here is a lot of revenue power and oil, but you need this in the long run. But the base itself has no military value. There is no big port, no airport. You need more important is no Surabaya, because here is a shipyard. Here you can repair all your equipment. And Batavia is normally similar to Palmbang. I would say it's a secondary task first for me. Take first Surabaya. I think it's more useful. This you must take, but it's for me the second target first here in Java. And I don't really know what I will do here, because I think I pick up these bases and Darwin. Maybe I will make an invasion of Darwin. I'm really not so sure. And the total opposite of THG game. In THG game, XTRG, and they focus so much on this New Caledonian stuff very early on, and I really think it's not important. It's you must take this basis. Yeah, this is maybe a must-have because I have some buffer, and you take maybe Port Moresby and this stuff. Then you have buffer to protect Rabaul, because Rabaul is the really most important stuff here. I think to take this basis itself have no meaning because you must run something out of this. And I simply have here better submarines, and I use cruiser or battleship formation to interdict cargo shipping, or I use my carrier fleet here to havoc the supply line of Dojo. If you take this basis, you must not only take them, you also must bring equipment here, and you must supply them again and again. But with additional Navy Guards units coming, I think latest if this new Navy Guard units coming and I bring them all to Rabaul, the next step will be maybe, but not more maybe in March, I must maybe wait up to April, but maybe in April I will say, okay, now I take this stuff, try to take Luganville, and after I take Luganville, I maybe can go for New Caledonian. And after New Caledonian is done, then maybe the next attempt is then Suva. And if we can take all of this, this is a nice base. We will see. Yeah, the carrier. So we have here this tanker, destroyer stuff. 2 destroyers, 2 tankers still. But I think I will not try to catch them. It's too risky. I'm here behind the line. My carrier formation is they have oil, but the fuel is not unlimited for me. And we'll use some of our torpedoes, but we still have some left. But let's say this carrier, the Suryu, lost more or less half of the fighters already, so they are little. I cannot use them more. Okay, so this is all the zeros we lost. The other one is only damaged. So one carrier lost his fighter force 50%, and they only can make cap now, but they can normally not more operate offensive anything. But the rest, the bomber formation is still in a good shape, I would say. We don't really lost any. If I check this, is all done, all 100%, all 100%. Oh, so we only really lost only some fighters so far. So then bombardment and the navy attack was without any losses. Okay, and you can see that these pilots are already, if you check for torpedo abilities, I still have here some normally only training guys. I forgot to kick them out. Normally, before you do this kind of operation, it's maybe better to check this again, that you have only skill pilot of at least a skill of 60. But looks like I forgot this. Because I was just in Rabaul and shifted some pilots and then... this is my mistake. Okay. But the advance is that if you have so many pilots, that this normally never gets fatigue. They can run non-stop, because every pilot always gets fatigue, will simply have a day rest, and then the other pilot will jump in the cockpit and take over. Okay, so I don't think I will firstly, I think they are mostly heavy damage. They will sink, or they are out of action for a long time. And if Dojo try to save them, then he still must invest a lot of he will burn more supplies and block his shipyard, and I don't know where's the shipyard here nearby, so I think he really cannot really fix them easily. And maybe it's time to, because stay here is really risky, and I don't have any support stuff here. This was more or less a surprise fast strike and then try to run back again. Maybe I will go here around, maybe strike Suva from the west side, and maybe also make a strike here on New Caledonian, check the bases and simply sink everything what I can find here, but normally return to Rabaul as soon as possible again. And maybe next time I need some more support stuff, because in Rabul we have still 4 battleships and 2 heavy cruisers. So I can maybe create here 2 battleship support units and 2 heavy cruiser formations, something like this. And with this stuff I simply feel better to operate here and stay in position and really try to knock out some installation stuff more carefully. It's also, if you have battleships, you can also make this kind of short bombardment. The only problem is if you do this once, then your battleships have no ammunition left, then they have to return. So if you do this must be always the last stuff you do. Maybe first take cruisers and battleships with you to protect the carriers, and if you think, okay, it's time to return, and you had no engagement, then you maybe tell your navy units to bombard some ports or airports to damage stuff, and then you go back. Okay, so, and yeah, I really, there is not much. I only saw some of Dojo's submarines, but I really don't know where is his cruisers, battleships, and carriers. A little, maybe he refits them and they all get new radar. Maybe. What else I can say? I think this is for the situation. Now mostly okay. It's only 2 weeks ago that I make the last episode about this stuff, and not too much really change. For the only for the logistic part maybe. Normally if I create task forces like cargo stuff, if it's oiler or troop transport stuff, I always give escort, destroyers, patrol ship, but I try to match the speed that my escort is always faster than my cargo ships or my oilers, and this kind of stuff I give equipment. But for other stuff like this standard cargo ships, and if it's now here and I don't see any submarines for a long time, then I will not give them more any escort first, because every escort ships burnt fuel. And secondly, I try always to match the port, that normally that you can dock a ship and then you can unload cargo much faster. I think this is my number one. I never go over the port. That you can normally make it even bigger here, but and you have here many of the small islands. At the beginning of the game there are supplies, and I more or less pick them up and bring it all back to Japan or wherever, because I think there's no real meaning to have here supplies. Here are still some supplies left, not really big numbers, but you can pick them up all one by one. I think some bases have more. Here, like here's a base with 3,000 supplies. I don't need supplies here. Here's no industry, here's no troops. Pick them up, bring them to mainland China, Japan or China. There you have a use for this. And I think Taishu is also, I don't know why, but I think this base have 50,000 supplies at the beginning, and you can better call the supplies in. You simply say maximum request of supplies, and then you call all the supplies to Takao, because here you can use them or you can ship them. Normally I think I ship them now slowly, day by day, and continuously supply to Hong Kong. And because you also don't need here normally over 20,000. 20,000 is enough. You need here only 20,000 to keep this installation running, and then it's done. And all the rest you better have always in some bases you really need them, because Hong Kong is still always at the edge of maximum. You need this at least 10,000 to have the repair of heavy industry, or anything you need to repair need at least 10,000 supplies, or it will not have a repair. And so, and 20,000 is always better. And here in Canton we are just under 10,000, so yeah, there's normally never enough. this kind of cities and bases always ask for more and more. But it's related to the situation that I also try to push this engineering industry for the future. So this is a military situation. I show already that our oil facilities are all here in perfect shape normally. And Miri is now also... Miri is the last one I must fix. But in 85 days I hopefully have this also perfectly running. Then the airfield or the oil field of Miri is similar to Balikpapan, then they're equal. And this, if you control this all and everything is running, you have Palembang, this really can support the Navy of Japan. I think this is normally, I would say, enough. Then you have the additional airfields, oil fields here in Burma. A little more hard to get the oil out maybe, but you maybe don't need this. If you have the fuel all here, then you try to operate most of your navy out of Rangoon. Then you consume this fuel from Rangoon. Then you have, firstly, you have the fuel here. And you also don't must transport anything out, and this means there's nothing the Allies can interdict and sink later with submarines like this. Okay. Ah yeah, we can maybe check the industry stuff. So the engines production, order by type. So the H60 is still under development. Maybe we can get 1 month, maximum 2 months short. So we are now in... Maybe, if I'm lucky, we can get this engine in June already. But I don't think before. But June is maybe possible. You can still see I operate a little more H32. But I don't really try here to get the 500 too much. Because there's not much based on this engine more. We will see, but... The H33 I normally try to push, but I'm always not sure how much I want to push this. I won't only get the 500 normally, but I also don't want here increase the factory size much more, because simply it's burn supplies, and I really am at the limit. It's I choose more to invest my supplies mainly on heavy industry to have in the long run a more easy going. You can also go the opposite and say, no, you don't go for heavy industry and you push more the engine and the air production, but this will help you in the short run, but in the long run you maybe say, now you have all these facilities, but you simply have no supplies more, or very low on supplies then. Yeah. Okay. I only have the one factory for the H43 because it's so special engine and so far away. Maybe I will later change 1 or 2 factories for this. Because I think the H60, maybe the 80 I will keep, and the other 2 I will maybe change to H43. If this is done. H34 we come maybe close to the 500. This will help. And the H35 is already at 500, but it's stable around this 550. Yeah. And the H45, the really top of the art engine for the fighter forces. Maybe we can still push a little more out. So maybe in April 43 I can get this engine. We will see. So in the aircraft production you can see I produce some zeros, but not crazy many, because it's really... It's a good airplane, but it have already its limitations too. The torpedo bombers, we're producing 40 per month. Depending how many you lose, you can push this maybe up to 30, but I think I keep it like this first. And I increase the dive bomber production, so that I also have a 40. Later we can change this to the A2, so the next level. So not that this is a really big improvement, but you can change this without losing your industry capacity. So, and I was a little low. The dive bombers are really maybe maybe it's better to have 2 factories on Kate and 2 factories on Valve, because you have so many squadrons coming request these airplanes, and you don't I don't really lose many dive bombers, but there's simply a demand for this because you have so many empty squadrons request this dive bomber. Yeah, Jack is still always in request because Jack, you will also lose this patrol planes. They get so easy killed by flak and enemy fighters, so I produce them always in big numbers. The Betty is still not in production because I don't lose Bettys, but I also don't use them very aggressive. I use them mostly really only for local navy attack and a normal or like a land bombardment. So I keep the production still off. Yeah. Similar to the H6K4, I normally wait that I can get the H8K1, but this needs some time. The Oscars, I push this a little more so that I get everywhere 30. This was maybe a little slow for me. And also with the K46, I try to give them all 30. This is also, if I reach the 30, I think I will switch this to A&D to get the upgrade. Because over 47 I also don't need this. This is, maybe I can stop the production because I only will keep the repair now on. I think I can do this. I forgot this only because 47 I think is enough for pool first. Oscars I still will produce because you see the Oscars are dying now much easier and faster. Maybe, yeah, I will ramp up this to 30, 40, 30, 30 and yeah, we will see. And A&D, I don't know, there's still not much happening. This will come next month online already, but they are useless. This is only this float plane fighters, but I don't know what you really want to do this with them. The A6M3, I don't know if it's coming in June maybe. But I don't really use this airplane. I think I will skip this completely. I better wait for the A6M5. This I will really try to push out that I get it maybe at the beginning of 43 already. And then after this I will skip all others and go immediately to the C edition. And I hope to get this at the beginning of 44 already. You can see the SAMs are still not coming because it's too late. This is a really endgate fighter. Maybe it's really hard to get here any industry ready for this kind of stuff. Here is similar, you can see the numbers are still very low. This is also endgame stuff that it's it will help if you have the engine ready, then you get the bonus already, double the points, but if your factory is not ready, then it's not working. But I try. But you can see here, so the Oscars 2Bs already pushing, because normally I only want the 2B and not the 2A. If the 2A is ready, I think I will also skip it to a 2B. I think the 2A makes no sense to produce, only produce the 2B, then for me it's done. And all waiting for the Helen to arrive. But this is the 1A Helen, so I will also skip the production of this. I want the 2A Helen as soon as possible. Yeah. And this is... So really this A&D stuff is still coming, but far away. Goodie, this is for the A&D stuff. Now we can check fast the tracker software. And this is what the tracker tell me this turn. That we sunk 2 destroyers, the tracker say, and 2 tankers. A little difference always to what the in-game is telling you. But this is also this is more also related to Fog of War, but it's always more trustful. Okay, what is the most important stuff you can find out of the tracker? Maybe always the industry stuff. So this is a global situation. If it's coming, always need time. Yeah. Okay, so first we can check the. This is heavy industry points. We're going still up. Sometimes we reinforce some stuff, or then we consume a little, but it's normally not a big issue. The manpower you can see is normally coming up, but you can always see if I ask if there was a battle or if I allow units to reinforce, and we dropping a little. But at the end we still create more pool manpower, so this is not an issue. The armament is also on a high level. You can see this is still okay. It's not really crashing. The biggest issue is still with the vehicles. I really always up down, and then I really cannot really create anything in the pool for the vehicles. Well, and this is a navy production. This is a pool points more or less, you can see. So I ramp up here pool points, and then I change something, and now we can slowly down. Merchant in the pool points for production is also a big pool points, and then I say okay, increase the, I think the escort fight carriers or some other stuff. I say okay, try to get it up, and then I'm nearly down or empty it, and now I adjust it again so that we can work here around 500 points, maybe, or 1000 points. And the resources is maybe more interesting. Is so the golden level is a heavy. This is the resources, so iron ore or whatever, copper and all this stuff. So this is really not an issue. We produce enough resources, and we conquer enough resources, and we ship this back to Japan. And I really don't think there's a real issue. And this is also because I have normally enough resources. I can also increase still the heavy industry. The other stuff looks not so crazy. The fuel is still burning. This is heavily related to how active you use your fleet. But we can see it's dropping, but it's not a real. It's still acceptable. We are now here still at maybe over 3 million tons of fuel. And also the crude oil is falling. But I think it will stabilize now soon. Because we conquer and repair most of the oil facilities, and latest if I think we take Palembang, I think we have so much crude oil that it will not be an issue more. Then this both will stabilize. And the supplies you can see is maybe the biggest issue, and the issue was already there. And to stabilize this, I still try to push more heavy industry to, maybe latest at 1 million points. I really must have, so I have maybe 500,000 point units of supplies I can maybe burn. But if I reach this level, then I must really maybe stop my my strikes and reduce this, and maybe wait that I first buffer more supplies, because to strike without supplies, I think this makes no sense. If your unit's running out of supplies in the middle of the fight, then you suffer at the end only more and more. So this is still the biggest issue for me, but it's still heavily related to how much you invest in your industry, and how aggressive you use your air forces and your army units, and maybe also if you upgrade units and all this stuff, because it's also, I think, burn supplies at the end. Good, this is for this industry stuff. We can also check the, oh no, again this happened. Maybe this tracker software with the chart here, because some maybe like this. This is the other only. You can see here the daily production that we the daily production of resources is now at plus 1,700, and the crude oil is down, because I think we start with minus 9,000 and now we are only at minus 5,700, so we nearly half the lack of crude oil. And we have here calculated always basis on the ship, because I think because our carriers are long time now in Singapore, this drops down, and now the game say we already producing fuel and we don't lack more fuel. But if you run your ships very actively, then this will change this number and then this will drop down. So keep this always a little in mind. But yeah, we create here roughly 28,000 supplies now per day, and this I think increased much more. I think you start, I don't know more what is the start values, but for sure this is now much higher than before. And we can see that 100 or 99 light industry is now still damaged, but I don't repair them more. I would really suggest don't repair any light industry. Don't repair this stuff, because to repair this 100 will not really have any impact, because you have 15,400. So if you have now 15,500, the meaning is so small. And this 100 out of 10,000 is also simply because you get from this 100 only 1 per day. But here you can get 2 per day, plus heavy industry points. And this is why I have still here so many heavy industry points in repair. But this also means this 1,000 heavy industry still ask for 1,000 supplies. So I still need here a lot of heavy supplies to fix all this industry. I think it was 1,000. Yeah, 1,000. So I need still 1 million supplies to fix all this heavy industry. I also need here something to fix the refineries, and I also want to fix normally the oil. So this 3 I all try to fix, and this 2 I will not fix more. I also don't fix this manpower, so this 3 I don't fix, but this 3 I fix. And if we get the new airplanes, then we also have here, but this is a heavy industry points. So this is still low numbers because I really don't push so much for this. But if we are ready with this, I think the technology is also ready, and then I have to push a lot of more engines out and more airframes, and then we have much more aggressive battles with Dojo, because I think in June or so, then the Americans, they have so many stuff, then Dojo will strike back, and then is the question if I can reinforce my units fast enough. Good. What else? Maybe yeah, there's normally not so much. Maybe I can still go to victory points. So this is at the beginning of the game. Dojo outclassed us 8-1, and now we are 2.2, 19-1. But we still need many more points. But if Rangoon is ours, this will drop drastically. So I don't know more. I think he will drop down to maybe 6,500 or like this. We get a little more points, and then if he's at 6,000, let's say he's at 6,000 and we are at 24,000. Yeah. Then we have 4 times the points. And if we are at the 1st of January, or if we reach 1943, and the Japanese player have 4 times the points than the Allied player, so it means this is a 4-1, then Japan win the war. This is the earliest day the Japanese can win, so 1st of January, but it doesn't matter which day normally, I think in 43. Any day, if it's ever happened that the Japanese, I don't know if they must, I think any day If you have here 4-1 for the Japanese, the Americans simply say, okay, it's too crazy, we give up. Make no sense. Good, and everything else, I don't know, here's maybe show the charge, the victory points, you can check this. How weak rise up and Dojo, but you can see that the Japanese say rising up because we take stuff, and maybe mostly we take stuff, I would say. And the Allies say losing stuff, but because the Allies also producing a lot of stuff, you can see here and here, and also at the beginning of the. So there's always the reinforcements of the Allies, and with the reinforcements of the Allies, you can see it stabilizes the situation for the Allies. They're not really losing too many victory points. It's more or less that we're rising. Sunk ships, yeah, this is only a chart. You can see that the Japanese still no really change, and the Allies losing stuff. Then you can see the big battles here. I mean, Pearl Harbor. This I don't know more. Maybe it was. I don't know more. I don't know the timeline. This is around turn 35. Maybe this was the Battle of Suva. And maybe this was the Battle of Bombay. I would say because this is a big jump. So here's something with value sunk. So maybe this is Bombay. But you also can see this is always, if this happened here, so we get a correction. Like maybe, because I think maybe here we get information we sunk like 4 or 5 battleships. And then at some point we realize, oh no, we don't sunk 4 or 5 battleships, we only sunk 3 battleships. So the game say, okay, points back. Bang. But overall, I would say the direction is still in favor for the Japanese so far. But these are the good days of Japan, so of course you must have see like this. If it's a line equal to the Japanese, then this is terrible for the Japanese. This must be like this. How strong this is in favor of the Japanese is the other question. And air losses is like the same. So we can always see that. Wait. Now it's better. So the blue line are the Allies, the red line is the Japanese. So if the blue line is always on top of the red, then the Allies losing more airplanes than the Japanese. And you try simply to keep this as long as possible that it's the losses are for the Allies higher. But you can see it's not always possible. Here this was I think a bad day at turn 65. Here was also a very costly day. But maybe this was the Battle of Bombay, I don't know more. But at least we lost here a lot of airplanes, you can see this. But you can see at the beginning we lost a lot of... This was a mistake with the Philippines. Here was, I think, the bad day of Rangoon, maybe. And simply, I think this will equal out. If you have later the 1-to-1 kill ratio, then I think you must be happy. You only don't want to get it much faster, more worse. Okay, this are for these points. And anything else is here really important? I think not really. You can let me know if you want to see something from the tracker software, but mostly I use it for this kind of stuff. Because to compare the airplanes, wait, where's the airplane? Yeah. You can normally use the software at the beginning a lot to compare stuff or to check the upgrade path, but this is normally you do this only once and then it's okay. So you can check. It's also often ship classes, and then you can check for units and how they upgrade and how they. But this is information everyone do this once, or if you want to check something you can check it here. But this is I think not useful to do this or online or in YouTube, because this is your personal preference what you want checked just now. So I would say this is the end. So far everything is fine, and I'm still waiting for the the return strike of Dojo. Take care, see you all, and stay safe, bye bye.